Hello, my name is James Halderson, and I am the lead developer and principal director of the Thetis Project. And today I've made a slideshow showing off some of the features and functionality and what we're aiming for with the project. So first of all, what is the Thetis blockchain, or the Thetis block matrix, I should say? A block matrix is a new, innovative idea in the blockchain industry. Essentially, a block matrix is an ecosystem of several different blockchains that are all interconnected and communicating with each other's individual blockchains. How the Thetis ecosystem will work is each individual account has its own blockchain. This account can hold several unique data types that are owned and possessed by the associated account, including token wallets, NFTs, and encrypted blockchain assets. And we'll get into encrypted blockchain assets in a bit here. So just going over this here. This is a typical blockchain right here. So you have your block data, and they're all encrypted with the hash of the previous block. So previous hash encrypts this one, previous hash encrypts this one, all the way back to the Genesis block. So the difference with a blockchain and a block matrix is that each account actually contains one of these blockchains. So let's say I'm X. X has a blockchain that holds all the block data for that account. And then it has account assets that are actually tied to this inside of a storage account. So every time you do something on the blockchain, if you send tokens or NFTs, or if you transact, you sign transactions, anything like that, that's actually interacting with the assets. And when an asset interaction occurs, that goes into your blockchain, your individual blockchain. And all that data is in hash and hashed, previous hash, back to the Genesis block. Now this has a couple benefits. One benefit is that if each account and each wallet per se, it's not really a wallet because the wallet is stored in the account, but if each account has its own blockchain, then when you're tracing back to the Genesis block, which this is what happens, let's say on Bitcoin or Ethereum or any one of the big blockchains that exist right now, when you're tracing, you have to trace back all the way to this Genesis block to do a transaction. And that's why transactions not only take a long time, but also so energy expensive. We hear it all the time that blockchain is an energy drain on the energy grid, the electrical grid of the world, because of how much actual energy that takes to go trace back all the way to the beginning of each Genesis block, and then come all the way back to the current block, hashing all the way along the way. That's a huge energy sink. So this has a few, not only just economic benefits, but also energy benefits in the world. Because if everybody's, let's say my blockchain, I did 100 transactions, that's only going back 100 when I transact with somebody, instead of going back billions. And in that way, when people are interacting with each other's blockchains, they're actually saving a bunch of time and energy, and it's a way better idea. Also, another thing is that each blockchain on this block matrix has its own AES compression keys. So the way that blockchains work right now is that if they get compressed or if they get encrypted in any way, they all share the same encryption key. So if I break the encryption key or the compression key of this blockchain, I can get all the data going all the way back to the beginning. Now we're talking about the whole thing of not just hashing, factoring prime numbers, and the mathematical complexity there is that currently in the state that we're in today, this won't probably happen for a while. But with the advent of quantum computing and AI and how things are going right now and the amount of computational power we're scaling at, this could happen within the next 10 years, that somebody breaks the encryption key or starts factoring primes and figuring out what the encryption algorithm is between each of these blocks and just starts stealing quite literally billions, even up to trillions of dollars. So that's a real possibility in the near future. So we're going to go onto my computer here. This is just an example. Let's say we have a node here. So in this example here, each one of these is actually its own node communicating with the system. So when you create a new account, you are a node, instead of communicating with a node network that's distinct from you. Inside of our node, we have our blockchain here. This is the blockchain that we will be demonstrating today. It's just on a local network right now on my computer. You have your wallet as well. This is a wallet here that has nothing in it right now. This is your node thing that just says it's just my local database and a local database and a port. Not local database, sorry. This is just my local IP address and a local port. And then we have this test image which we're going to use in a little bit here. So let's go back to our little presentation here. And we're going to look at this here. So, what's going on here? This is the actual blockchain running right now. Again, this is local to my machine right now. Building the back end of the block matrix, like currently it's on a local device, but there will be a hosted server, so it's a little distinct from other blockchains in that way, that there is a server involved in this, because the server is what holds all the account assets and everything. That's all encrypted. That is different than peer-to-peer. It is still kind of peer-to-peer because the communications happen between peer-to-peer communications, and when the blockchains are signed, that'll be between the different peers. But all the assets and the account information is going to be inside of a database. And in that way, you have a database. On one hand, you have a database right here. And on the other hand, you have individual blockchains that are in the database. So when you have a block explorer, let's say, you're actually going to be indexing through this database that has account information, but you won't be able to see this because it's all encrypted. And then each of these individual blockchains that's in this database will point over to these assets. So we'll get back into that in a little bit. So that about explains that. We'll go to the next slide here. So now we're going to be looking at elastic tokens. What is the elastic token standard? ETS, Elastic Token Standard, is a new type of rebase token that actively adjusts its price and supply to match the arithmetic mean of the top 10 performing cryptocurrencies to help avoid and negate market volatility while still having room to grow as an economic vehicle. Kind of got tongue-tied there a little bit. It's kind of a tongue twister to say that. Okay, so the elastic token here, basically what this is just saying is that we're summing up the top 10 tokens on the market. We're dividing that by 10 million, and the reason why it's 10 million is because it's 10 tokens. So we add this up and divide by 10. But then this token on its initial offering would be worth like $63,000 or something like that. So we divide that by a million to get a fractional representation of that. And what that fractional representation does is it says, like, instead of, starting a token out in the tens of thousands of dollars, you're just making it relatively cheap for people to get in at an early phase. And then this number here that comes out of here is actually augmented by the PayPal holdings. So what's actually going on here is that there's a back-end PayPal holdings account. And the PayPal holdings account holds USD. And the USD that's inside the PayPal holdings account is tradable one-to-one for these tokens. So in a similar vein to thinking about a stable coin, something that's anchored to a currency currently. But it's not actually a stable coin because the token can be adjusted and will adjust constantly, so that the value of the tokens here is equivalent to if 100% market valuation or 100% dilution was reached. This would be tradable one-to-one, and that would be all the tokens in the PayPal holdings account. So it's 100% liquid, or at least somewhere around 95% liquid all the time, because there's a variation there. This is in comparison to other assets, even these ones that we're looking at the top here, which have 20-30% or even lower than that liquidity. So in traditional finance, it's an illiquid asset. And it's very hard to liquidate that to get your money out without going through brokers, brokerage, these third-party centralized exchanges to get real-world assets. In order to use the money, you can't actually use most of these. I mean, there's a few countries, El Salvador, I guess, accepts Bitcoin. But if you want to trade these in the real world for real-world goods, real commodities in our world, you have to first then liquidate it. And then when you're liquidating, you're paying all these fees to these different brokers and everything. It's a losing battle. So crypto people always talk about wanting to achieve mass adoption of cryptocurrency. And we have XRP here, Ripple. With Ripple, it's looking like in some countries that there is some adoption at a government level. And then, we don't want that because it's the government now is interacting with XRP. But the thing is, in order to use these currencies in the real world, you have to be able to trade them for some kind of fiat currency in order to trade the fiat currency in the world, because not everybody's using cryptocurrency. It's fine to use cryptocurrency, but it's not viable in the current state. It's more like a security. I know that people don't want to classify it as a security because that brings in financial restrictions. But that's the reality, is that if we don't look at it like a currency, it's not tradable for fiat or other currencies around the world, then we can't classify it as a currency. We can only classify it as some kind of security. And Thetis network changes that completely. So we're going to go back to our little thing here. And we're just going to say, where does this price come from? Well, in here we'll say ATS, and this will just calculate for us right now on the fly what is the going rate. So this is ETS right here. This is what we're looking at. So we calculate the top 10 coins, and this is the arithmetic mean of that number, the average. And right now it's 62,302. And I've had this project going since about May when I started coding it out. This number has been as high as like 71, 72. So it's really low right now. This changes all the time. But that's the point of the rest of the operations here. The initial price of the token is then we divide it by that number, 10 million, to get to here. And then after you have this basis as a root basis, the current token holdings in the account, let's imagine we have $10,000 in the PayPal account. Then that would augment the value. Now, I have it set so that this actually is the starting value of the token. So, that'll be the very minimum market capitalization of this token would be 10,000 tokens. So the value of the token is now this, so it's the same number. This creates a supply of those tokens. So off the bat, this will have 1,605 and 81.52, whatever this extenuating number, amount of tokens off the bat. Now, as more money goes in here, this number gets bigger and bigger, and if money gets taken out of here, then the number goes down. It adjusts. It's an elastic token. And it may seem kind of counterintuitive, but the only way that you can take money out of here is if you trade your tokens back into this and trade it for USD. So I'm trading my token back, I'm taking some out, and then it gets rid of that amount that I've traded in from the total amount. So this number is always, so right now it's 1,605,081.527 whatever tokens. This is now equivalent with this. If I take this number and multiply by that, I get this. All right. And that's now how many tokens are on the market. This number will always be changing, but it'll always be equivalent with how much is inside of the account. So we adjust the token price, right, to get here. We divide that by that, we get $10,000 USD. Okay, so that's a basic rundown of the ETS token standard. On the Thetis block matrix, because you have several different accounts everywhere, like each blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, these guys could have their own account on here and their own blockchain, like a symmetrical blockchain to what exists out there already, running on the block matrix, trading their tokens to everybody, and they don't have to be elastic tokens. This is the Thetis standard, though. So when the tokens release, when I get this blockchain out there, the standard will be these elastic token standard. You can also create regular tokens that don't have this mathematical equation or this mathematical algorithm implemented into those tokens. They're just regular tokens that have a fixed value, not floating values. And those can be traded too. And these guys can even make, little duplicates of their token with their token value and supply some liquidity in their token. And it just bridges over from their token to this token because that's the whole idea. Instead of having one blockchain, you have this ecosystem of several thousands or millions of blockchains, and they're all interacting with each other and they're all trading with each other. That's the whole idea. So that's the elastic token standard that's being introduced with Thetis. There is some rebased elastic tokens already, but this is a different way of doing it with the arithmetic mean. This is the big differentiator between this and other elastic tokens. And then also having a PayPal holdings account, an actual real world asset holdings account in USD that you can trade money into and out of. These are two of the big differentiating factors that makes this different than other rebase tokens out there that have been tried. Okay, next slide. So the next slide here, and we're going to be talking about encrypted blockchain assets. This is another unique thing to the Thetis block matrix. And what is that exactly? EBAs, or encrypted blockchain assets, are essentially the natural evolution of the NFT protocol. EBA is an encrypted asset that is only able to be accessed and interacted with by the owner of the contract, who owns not only the asset itself, but also an asset decryption key. The EBA is encrypted and then stored on the blockchain as an encrypted asset. Nobody is capable of viewing or interacting with this asset unless they have the AES key it was encrypted with. So that's a basic little description there. The rundown here, we're going to go look at this. We start off with an AES key. So every one of these assets has its own AES key, and this is used for AES encryption and decryption. This key also is unique to the account that's holding the key, and it's compressed with that account's compression key. So because each of the blockchains has its own compression key, they also hold their own AES keys there, because the compression key is also an AES key, so that's kind of confusing. But there's several keys, like it's multi-layered encryption and multi-layered cryptography that we're talking about here. It's very complicated, so to get into these accounts, it's not going to happen. Not even with quantum and AI, it's just not possible, I guarantee you. So we have our AES key here. It encrypts this asset. That creates an EBA certificate, and that certificate is then signed to my blockchain. It becomes a block on my blockchain. At the same time that this gets encrypted and put onto my blockchain, which is then compressed, this gets scrambled and nobody can access anymore, and that gets put onto the account assets and onto my account. So this becomes one of my assets inside of my account database, which is tied to each blockchain has an extenuating database column, a column in the database that holds all of its assets as encrypted text files at that point in time. It's just ones and zeros, or it's whatever the encryption creates it. Technically it's just ones and zeros at that point until it gets recompiled back into this. So we're going to demonstrate that. So we're going to go back to my little wallet here, my little account, because remember, a node is an account. They're one-to-one with each other. Everybody's their own node. And then inside of here, I have my wallet, and we have our image here. So let's open that up. This is the image Thetis, just like we've seen on the presentation. And I'm going to turn this into an EBA right now. So to do that, we're going to close that down. I'm going to go here. First of all, I'm just going to get this wallet name. I'm going to come to my little blockchain application running here right now, which is, again, just briefly describing this here. This is actually the blockchain is running right now. But there's no GUI. There's no graphical user interface layered over this. This is just pure, console nonsense, just for local deployment. We'll get into later the account manager application, which will be the GUI that's layered on top of this, that if you're just a regular user, you won't have to look at all the scribbles or any of the code and do console command or anything like that. That'll be done automatically for you by clicking on a button on a GUI somewhere. Okay, so we're going to say here, we're going to go and encrypt file. Or we actually want to encrypt an image, because you can encrypt different kinds of file types. Right now we got regular files, which is like text files of all different types. It can be any kind of formatted text, from just a notepad or a WordPad to JSON files. Everything like that can be encrypted and decrypted. Images is as far as I've gone so far with things that are visual representations, but basically a video is just a sequence of images, so it's the same thing. I just got to implement. There's a few things I got to implement with video and sound and stuff like that I'm working on that hasn't been implemented yet. But the bigger picture is that, yes, anything, a text file, an image, a video, audio, any kind of file type will be able to be stored as an EBA. So, name of the image, our image was named test, and the wallet address that's encrypting it, we put our wallet in here. And then this happened here, and you see this here, this thing right here is actually the creation event of the EBA on my blockchain. So the block index is 48, block hash is this is the previous hash. The most recent block was signed by this guy who is now the EBA creator. And it's true, the blockchain is valid, so we have 48 on here. These are all test transactions just for this one blockchain. There's also several other blockchains on my computer right now that are all related. They're all related blockchains. They have similar blockchains on them because I was testing passing it back and forth between each other, so they all just stored the same blockchain. But in production, these will actually be distinct from each other. Like, they'll only pass certain blocks to each other. They won't pass the whole blockchain, because I was trying to do UDP communications and stuff like that at one point, but it's not viable. So we're going to go back looking at this here. New block added to the blockchain. I'm the creator. This is the index. This is the block hash, the previous hash. So this is all fine and dandy. It's true. And the image was encrypted successfully. So let's go look at our image now. Come back here. We look at this same image. And as you can see, nothing appears. You can't look at this image. Why? Because it's encrypted. If I was to open it up as a text file, it would just be all gibberish. All random alphanumeric characters, because it's been encrypted successfully. So that's an EBA. And now that has been signed to my blockchain. I can look here. If we go all the way down to the bottom block, now the last block here will be the one that we just created here. If I close that down, I open this up, I can actually see everything here if I wanted to. So we say C. And that'll just load up this blockchain that's running right now. And we can see here that's the same block that I just looked at in the text file. Because this text file here, it's not compressed right now, but it will be compressed. Like, compression is working. I just haven't implemented the compression into the blockchain yet, because there's some network stuff going on there when you're trying to compress and decompress with a network. I was testing that. So I got to work on building that part of it out yet. So let's decrypt that image now. So let's imagine that I have encrypted my image here, and I've stored it on my account. But now I want to show someone it. Well, I can't because it's encrypted, right? But you can just simply decrypt it. So we'll come over here and we'll just say decrypt image. We'll give it its name. And then it'll just say decrypted here. So decrypting an image actually isn't part of the, like, it is part of the EBA flow, but it's not creating a new EBA, so nothing has been signed to the blockchain, because I can just encrypt and decrypt as I like. Only when you create a new EBA is that encrypted blockchain asset stored onto your blockchain. So we come back here, and we're in our little wallet again, and we look at it. Oh, look at that, I can look at Thetis again, I can look at the image. So that's EBA. Basically, one little review of this. We had our AES key, which is unique to this account. We took this image, we encrypted it, we created an EBA certificate which we stored on our blockchain. Then this was put into our account as an encrypted asset. So next we'll go on to the next thing here. This is the roadmap, the general roadmap for what we're trying to aim to do here. Project roadmap. Phase 1, developing the block matrix backend website and account manager application, Q3 2024. So that's what we're working on right now. The block matrix backend, like the backend exists on my computer, as I've shown off parts of it, but there's way more to it. There's thousands and thousands of lines of code. This backend has to be transferred into a network database backend, which is a completely different process. So that's what we will be working on. But first of all, what we want to do is we want to get the website done. So the website is going to be the priority for this. And then we will work on the backend and the account manager application. Okay, so phase 2 is pink style ICO fundraiser and early investor strategy. This is just for fundraising. We'll look at that in a little bit here. Phase 3, block matrix testnet deployment app beta testing phase. So this is after we've built this, and this will probably be late in Q1, maybe like March, we'll say, that we'll have the block matrix backend completed, and we'll start working on the account manager application that communicates with that. This is just like putting out a beta testing testnet phase that people can, if you're a developer yourself and you want to communicate with this. I should mention this is all in C#, so if you're a C# developer yourself, which is a pretty big language that's used inside of corporate application development, so that makes this really easy to integrate into most application development companies out there, if they want to use that, if they want to develop for this blockchain, or if they want to do test transactions and everything, see how it works in the block matrix between different blockchains. That'll be March, I would say, around March. And then phase 4 is the mainnet rollout, public app release, Q2 2025. Again, this will probably be late Q2, because all of this has to be built yet. The blockchain is working locally on a local network between local networks with each other, and I can send it to other computers inside of this local LAN network that I'm on. But to get that into a web application where everybody can communicate with the block matrix backend, that's a whole different story. So let's go back into this. Let's just look. This is more detail we're going to go into. So here's a little snippet of our blockchain program running right there. Phase 1, developing the Thetis website, account manager application, and block matrix backend. Currently, the Thetis block matrix project exists in a rudimentary form running on a local network infrastructure. That's what I showed off here. Website development is a top priority during this phase before embarking on the backend development of the block matrix prototype and the account manager application that interfaces with it. So again, I'm just kind of repeating myself. This is just a mock-up of what we want the application to look like, the main screen when you get onto it. This is showing our actual working application right now on the local area network. We want to get a website done first. This is for mostly promotional purposes. And also when we go to the next phase, which is the ICO and the token pre-sale, where we're going to be selling ETS tokens to try to fund a larger pool for the back end. For the PayPal holdings account, that when people are communicating with that, they trade their tokens. All that will be in Q2. So let's just move on to Q2 because I kind of went over this already. So, or phase 2. Phase 2 is in Q4 2024. Sorry for the confusion. Raising capital for the project development cycle and to fund the initial liquidity in the Thetis ETS Elastic Token Standard PayPal holdings account. This will be done through a pink sale ICO token launch and an associated ETS token pre-sale for early opt-in investors. So the way this will work, this is going to be kind of a little confusing, but this is how we're planning on doing it. The pink sale ICO will be a Polygon token, and this Polygon token is not connected to the Thetis network. This is just a funding apparatus so that people can invest in it. The ETS pre-sale will be done on our actual website, and this is actually you're buying real ETS tokens that will be given to you. It's just the reason why we're doing it in this way is so that we can have two different angles of attack. One, we're going on pink sale, which is a well-known website that people look at in the crypto space for promotional purposes, and then ETS pre-sale on our own website so that you can actually buy the tokens straight up. So when you buy these pink sale tokens, what the plan is that we will create another blockchain account on the block matrix that's associated with these ICO tokens, and then those tokens that you buy will in the future be directly tradable for ETS tokens or other tokens on the block matrix network. At first, this will just be for funding, just to get people involved, and then if the token takes off or whatever and raises more capital, then we can then inject that into our pool, our PayPal pool, for people to be able to buy and sell tokens when it releases, so that there's more money off the bat, and then we can offer the token at a higher and higher valuation. So there's two plans of attack, basically. There's two different angles that we're going to go at. One for pink sale. This is like a promotional strategy, and then this one's on our website. This is just to get people involved in actually getting tokens and getting involved in the early phases of the Thetis block matrix project. So phase 3, continuing development of the Thetis block matrix testnet. Beta testing the account manager companion app, first on PC and then mobile devices. This phase is entirely based around development and refinement of the product and its underlying technological infrastructure. So this is very simple. Basically, at this phase, late in Q1, we want to have the block matrix backend ready to go for testing, roll out the testnet, and then start testing the account manager, or start finishing up development on the account manager that's going to plug into these backends. Basically it's just one backend. It's the block matrix backend. The account manager development phase will already be started by now, but the entire focus of this phase is just development. Just develop everything and go 100%. No more focusing on funding and ICOs and all that kind of stuff. We're just going to be developing all the different aspects that we need to complete the project so that it's usable. And again, first on PC and then mobile devices and web extension as well. We want to do a web extension that lets you communicate with the block matrix and do transactions and everything like that. So that's the whole beginning of the year. Starting at the end of this year, around October, until we get to March, is all just pure development time with the token offering to help fund back-end aspects like the holdings account and other aspects of the project. And finally, Phase 4, Q2 2025, rolling out the Thetis block matrix mainnet and the public release of the account manager application, finalizing the project and tying up any loose ends. And then it's time to blast off. So this just means we want to finish up the mainnet. The test net will be available at this point in time. We want to finish up the mainnet, make sure that there's no problems or any, breaking glitches or anything like that that could really detriment people financially that are invested in the project. We roll out the mainnet and we roll out the account manager public release again late Q2 2025, so next summer, more than likely next summer, we will start doing this phase. And at that point, we're just going. We're just going to put out the mainnet. We're just going to put out the application. People can communicate with the mainnet, send stuff to each other, encrypt assets and send those assets to each other, create tokens, all this kind of stuff. So that's about it. Final words here. The Thetis Project is a brand new thing. It's being built from the ground up. 100% proprietary code. Everything is, there's no reliance on other blockchain networks or anything like that. Of course, the way that we want to design it, the block matrix, where each account has its own blockchain and its own holdings account. Well, in a way, holdings account, like its own assets account, I should say. We want to make it so it's really easy for other people to get involved, other blockchains to be able to just create an account, supply a pool of their own tokens, and then just like the ETS tokens, sending it between the ETS holdings account, a PayPal holdings account, and the ETS token. The same way that you would do that, you would also be able to do that, let's say, with Ethereum or with BNB or Polygon or some other cryptocurrency like that, that other foundations and networks would be able to just create pools and then just bridge the tokens all around between each other, because it would be super simple at that point in time. You're just trading whatever tokens on the block matrix for external networks. So the block matrix kind of serves not only as a new way of looking at encrypting the assets and having them all distinct and unique to each other, as well as having everybody have their own blockchains, and then the energy conservation that you get there, the financial benefits that you have from not having to spend as much energy in the real world to do the same thing. All of that also allows us to create this matrix of different foundations and different networks out there already existing right now for them to be able to trade, so it can be a framework for bridging the gap between everybody without exorbitant fees or anything like that, and also other currencies. Not just USD. USD is the first currency that we're going to be focusing on, but other fiat currencies will be able to make pools, and then you can trade between those. They can have ETS tokens, or they can have fixed tokens, or whatever you want. Like, it can be stable coins. Like, all these token types already exist in here. They're already coded out at all the different types of tokens that you could want to do. And they're associated smart contracts and everything like that. They're all ready to go. It's just about building out the back-end infrastructure and then providing a way for people to get involved through their specific networks and everything onto this new revolutionary way of doing it. And one last final note that I want to talk about before I end this video for today, this little slideshow. The last thing I want to talk about is the problem with encryption that I kind of briefly talked at the beginning of this video, and how AI and quantum computing and all that next level computational science is going to change the game when it comes to things like prime factorization. And, the mathematical complexities behind encryption are becoming less mathematically complex, because when you build up these giant systems with AI and giant systems with quantum computing can do this huge range of energy states. And it can just predict prime numbers, because prime numbers, at the end of the day, a prime number is just another facet of the universe. And what I mean by that is that if I'm interacting with the way energy and the law, the physical laws of quantum mechanics work, and prime numbers are just another mathematical intricacy of the universe, if I'm actually messing with the nature of reality, I can easily determine something simple like a prime number. And it's complex and hard to describe, but basically once we get computers with 100,000 qubits or more, then it's game over for something like prime numbers, because the range of numbers that would be able to be calculated with 100,000 qubits is larger than the amount of atoms in the entire universe. And that's just one quantum computer. So right now, if you look at SHA-256 and KeyCac and these other encryption algorithms that are being used in the industry with legacy blockchains, they're about equivalent. The amount of wallets you can create, they're about equivalent with the amount of atoms in the universe. So that sounds like a lot, right? And that's 256, SHA-256 algorithm right there, and its limitation. So now if I have one quantum computer that fits in a room that can calculate a number as big as all the atoms in the universe, then that means that with that quantum computer I can easily just calculate, like I can factor the prime number that is encrypting the modulus of that is being used to encrypt a SHA-256 or a KeyCac. And that's game over right there. That would be game over for everybody's money that's on the blockchains. If somebody nefarious was to come along and just say, you know what, I'm just going to use my one quantum computer and just hack everybody. Now to combat this, there's other algorithms such as SHA-512, which is what I'm going to be using for this blockchain project. It's going to be SHA-512. We're going to be using the AES standard with SHA-512. So it's about, it seems like it's just double the number, but it's actually hundreds of billions of times more complexity to be able to. So if right now you can have as many wallets as there is atoms in the universe, then what 512 would be is as many wallets as there is as atoms in the universe multiplied by 100 billion. So that's one thing to combat the potential threat of AI and quantum computing and how that's going to change cryptocurrency forever and cryptography forever. And the other thing is the asymmetric way that, they're using asymmetric encryption already. But what I mean by asymmetric is that the different wallets each have their own cryptography. They're using similar standards, but my account has the blockchain is being compressed with its own key, and my wallet is being encrypted with its own key, and my assets are all being encrypted with their own keys. So the difference there is that, let's say that somebody hacked the Ethereum network. Let's say 10 years from now, the prime number factorization process is solved with a quantum computer. And this person says, I'm just going to steal tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars and send it to myself, I guess, but they would also not be safe, but just whatever, break the encryption. So they break the encryption of your wallet. They break the encryption, let's say, of the Coinbase wallet or something like that has billions and billions of dollars. Well, now every single asset that's in that Coinbase wallet, because they all share a private key, every single asset in there, all the different tokens, they're now could be just shipped off to another wallet somewhere, and it becomes valueless overnight. But if everything inside that wallet itself had its own encryption keys, and it was, each of them was compressed in their own way, then you hack the wallet, you still have everything inside of there that's encrypted. So I have to run it through again. I have to go run my algorithm over again on each one of those assets to try to prime factorize each one of the prime numbers of each of those assets. So in that way, doing it the way with a block matrix, it makes it impossible. Let's say if I'm using 512 encryption, SHA-512, and then I'm also using separate keys for each one of the assets inside of the wallet, there's no way that somebody could come along and just decrypt that. Because they have to decrypt one thing, then decrypt another layer, another layer, another layer. There's so many layers of cryptography involved. They're just not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. So that's my last note that I wanted to mention here before I sign off here. I just wanted to talk about that reality of the quantum threat, let's say. The reality of the quantum threat, and how the Thetis block matrix is actually, like, it can combat that 100%. Alright, again, my name is James Halderson. I'm the lead developer and also the principal director of this project, the Thetis Project. If you have any questions, concerns, anything like that, feel free to send us a direct message at the Thetis Project, or you can find me anywhere else on the internet. Send me your questions, anything like that, any concerns you have, anything you want to know about the project, and I'd be happy to answer anything. Alright, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and please follow us, like us, everything on social media.